Hi everyone, I'm Sean Woolley, Managing Director of Cloud9 Prestige. With me today, I'm delighted to say I have Miguel Manzanares, from the founding partner of Manzanares Abogados, based here in Marbella, and one of the leading law firms here on the Costa del Sol. Miguel is kindly going to tell our viewers and listeners about some very important changes to the inheritance tax laws here in Andalucia that could make a huge difference to any prospective property purchasers, not only in terms of what happens to the asset and their wealth, but also in relation to how a property is bought here now. So I guess the first question, Miguel, is thank you for taking the time to talk to us, obviously, but can you just start by giving a little bit more information about your company, Manzanares Abogados, how long you've been in business, and the types of clients that you work with?
Yes, thank you very much, and good afternoon. I formed Manzanares Abogados on 1996. The beginning of our law firm was doing legal practice in two main fields. One was the real estate law. I've been always specialized in real estate law and also tax law. These are our two main fields where we deliver legal services to a very diverse number of clients. Since the beginning of the law firm, we've been delivering services for every type of client. Clients buying one property, clients that were very big developers, national-sized developers and construction companies that have been doing very large developments in Costa del Sol. And we've been always assisting them in both ways. Basically, number one, creating the most effective structure. Today it's important that you think about the taxes that you will pay at the very beginning, even when you decided to do a business. So therefore, we were working with the clients very closely in order to prepare the most efficient tax structure first, and then to do the business, and of course providing legal services and legal advice within all the process up to the end. And this is something that we do for every client coming from many countries. In our law firm today, we speak and we write in around 9 languages.
Wow.
And so therefore, we have had experience with clients buying a property of 100,000 euros and buying properties of several millions of euros, as well as developments, like I said, construction companies, and everything related to property law, real estate law. This is our field.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. In terms of the inheritance tax, I believe that the law changed in January, but it changed in Andalucia. Can you explain about why just in Andalucia? Did it change in the rest of Spain, or how does it work here with inheritance tax in Spain?
Well, Spain is a country that we don't have estates as such, but we have autonomías. That is a kind of is a region that has pretty much the same level of autonomy as an estate. Okay. So the inheritance tax law is regulated nationally, but was giving a very wide frame of autonomy to each region to regulate about that specific tax. So therefore, we have 17 kind of states, and therefore 17 different regulations. So depending where your assets are, and then you receive them, and depending on as well the residency, basically you got to pay a different tax in Barcelona or Valencia or Seville, or here in Marbella, right? So this is really 17 different regions. Nobody is expert in everything of Spain because it will be very complex, but each one of the regions was regulated differently. And Andalusia, as well as 2 other regions of Spain, were facing the most expensive taxation in respect of inheritance tax. And it was the society, and it was really a claim from many angles of our society about doing a change that was softening somehow the very hard impact of inheritance tax when you receive assets from your parents and from your family.
So in the past, before this law change in January, what was the situation with inheritance tax then in the old days, if you like?
In the old days, there was a group number 1 and group number 2 of family relatives that they were able to receive up to 250,000 euros free of taxes.
Okay.
That means if you are a spouse, children and grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
The big change, and this is enforced since the 1st of January 2018, this year, is that you can receive up to 1 million euro each one of the members of the family. So that means if you if the father dies and has a spouse and 2 children, with 3 million euros, depending on how the will is drafted, right? But
course, yeah.
If let's say that 3 million euros is divided by spouse and the 2 children, each one of them receives 1 million, and each one of them will pay 0 taxes.
Wow. So that's a big change.
That's a big change, because this is really a good change in the law, not just for prospectus buyers willing to buy a property, and of course they don't have to worry in the very most of the cases about how much is going to be the tax bill that you give to your children and spouse. Therefore, this is not a concern anymore, and this is also important for those people that have been buying properties within the last years in this part of Spain, because they've been worried and they've been working in order to mitigate that tax impact, and then now they find that they are living in a year in which the change in the regulation has made that the wealth of very most of families buying and owners of a property in Andalucia can say that they are living a tax-free scenario to their family.
Absolutely. So as long as they have a well-structured will in place, then everything should be much, much easier and clearer than it used to be in terms of the benefits.
Yeah, the will is important, because then, bearing in mind that each one of them can have 1 million euro free, it's important to be smart and to analyze that it's better to divide the wealth in between your spouse and your children, instead of giving everything to your spouse and then afterwards to your children. Because if you do it that way, possibly, if you have, coming back to the same example before, if you have 3 million and you say, whenever something happens to me, goes to my wife. Therefore, your wife receives 3 million euros, and therefore she will have to pay taxes. But if you structure your will in a way in which you divide the value of that wealth in between your 3 heirs, that therefore none of them will pay taxes. So this is really important now in order to review the existing wills, to basically celebrate very much for those that are already owners of properties in Spain, and for those that are thinking to be owners of a property in this part of Spain, to structure this in a way in which there is tax efficiency.
Because again, before the law changed in January, I know from obviously our experience in real estate here in Marbella, there's a lot of purchases at that level of the market, sort of million euros plus, they tended to be done through companies, didn't they? And I guess that this means now that isn't necessary so much.
That is not necessary anymore.
Right, okay.
That was the usual way to work about mitigation of the inheritance tax impact in your family. So therefore, sometimes it was the property was owned by a company that was owned by a company. In the end, this was expensive, because you have to form international corporations, sometimes in one jurisdiction, sometimes in several jurisdictions, and all of them have to be looked after by accountants, bookkeepers, and sometimes as well by company directors. This cost is not necessary anymore, because you don't have to work in the mitigation of a tax that simply doesn't exist for certain level of wealth. Of course, that depends on the number of heirs that you have, of the number of people in your family that you can divide by. But those companies are not necessary anymore. So therefore, this is a very beautiful new for.
Fantastic. And are you already seeing people who are buying since the change in the law that things are much simpler for them, that they are able to buy in their personal names, and that they
Yeah, everything is much more simple. So people that have been thinking about this and have been working about this and they didn't know yet about this important news have reconsidered the way that they are buying the property in Spain. They were coming with a pre-concept or something that has been not just a pre-concept but the result of a very well-studied situation for their families. They find that they don't have to spend that money in that international corporation, Spanish company directors, etc. So they really welcome this news very happily, and also because in the end, having a property under a company is not just the cost of having a bookkeeper and having to set up the company, etc. Is that there is another tax associated to having a property in that company, and the taxes are because that property is normally used, and in many cases is used by shareholders and company directors.
Yeah.
The thing is, the taxman in Spain says, okay, this property is owned by this company. This company should be making an income because I can see that there is electricity consumption, and therefore this means that this property should be rented out. Oh, it is not rented out to any third party. Okay, then it's rented out to yourselves. So therefore, you should be reporting revenues of that company as it was rented out to any other person.
Okay.
So therefore, those companies have been having to produce incomes, because the fact that shareholders and company directors, basically the same family that are owners of the company, were using that property. So it's not just the cost of formation of the company, of accountants of the company. It's also that every year, just because of the fact that that property is being used by that company,
which they can prove because they'll have the access to the
inevitably,
utility bills. Yeah.
Inevitably, you have electricity consumption, and that means for the taxman that that property should be rented out. Okay. If there is no rental contract as such, because it's not a third party, and the use of that property is by directors or shareholders, that should be reported in incomes and consequently taxes as it was rented out. Okay. So the cost is really very big. So this is absolutely eliminated because we don't have to form a company. So no formation cost, no maintenance cost, and no taxes to be faced by anybody. You simply buy the property in your name, put a good will in place that is very inexpensive, by the way. With 200 euros you have a will in Spain, and therefore you have in a very clever way your wealth divided in between your heirs, in a way, spouse, children and grandchildren. Each one of them can receive up to 1 million, and nobody will pay any maintenance, no taxes. So it's
perfect.
Has changed.
Sounds ideal.
Thanks, God.
Sounds ideal. Thank you so much for that explanation. I hope everyone at home has enjoyed listening to Miguel's explanation about the changes to the inheritance tax laws here in Andalusia. Very, very important changes for anyone who's considering buying a property at that sort of level. I'd like to thank Miguel again. Miguel's website, manzanaresinternational.com, will be appearing at the bottom of this video, so please feel free to check it out. Lots of information on there, also an introduction to Miguel's team. And you can contact Miguel if you have any questions relating to what we've just discussed, or any other legal matters. If you're thinking about buying a property in Marbella and you'd like some legal advice, then Miguel can be contacted at miguel@manzanaresinternational.com. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I think is your website Manzanares International or Manzanares-ES?
Both works.
Okay.
But ManzanaresInternational.com.
Brilliant. And you can contact me if you feel like it at Sean, that's SEAN, at cloud9prestige.com. And again, our website's going to be appearing at the bottom of this page. And you can also check out this video and our other videos in our library on our YouTube page, which if you just go onto YouTube and search for Cloud9 Spain, that's the word 9, N-I-N-E, as opposed to the number, Cloud9 Spain, you'll find all our videos there. Thank you.